The blizzard stole everything that Christmas Eve. Their wagon, their direction, and nearly their lives. Two sisters, frozen and lost in the endless white Montana wilderness, saw only one distant light flickering against the storm. Behind that light waited a lonely rancher with a heart as vast as his legendary land. She came seeking shelter from the cold. She found something that would warm her forever. The wind howled across the vast Montana territory as snowflakes danced like tiny white spirits against the darkening sky. It was Christmas Eve, 1887, and the temperature had dropped so low that even the cattle huddled together in the shelter of the canyon walls. Clara Bennett clutched her sister's hand tighter as their wagon wheel cracked against a hidden rock beneath the snow. The sound echoed through the empty landscape like a gunshot, and both young women gasped as the vehicle lurched dangerously to one side. "Hold on, Sarah," Clara shouted, her voice barely carrying over the whistling wind. The wagon tipped, spilling their belongings across the frozen ground. Clara, at 25 years old, had always been the responsible one, the one who planned everything carefully. But nothing could have prepared her for this disaster on what should have been a simple journey to their uncle's homestead for Christmas dinner. Sarah, her twin sister by mere minutes, pushed herself up from the snow, her emerald green dress now dusted white. "Are you hurt?" she called out, rushing to help Clara to her feet. "I'm fine, but the wagon isn't going anywhere tonight." Clara surveyed the damage with growing dread. The wheel had shattered completely, and their horse stood trembling in the cold, looking just as lost as they felt. The sisters had left their small boarding house in town that morning, expecting to arrive at their uncle's ranch before sunset. But a wrong turn, and the unexpected blizzard, had left them stranded in territory they didn't recognize miles from any known settlement. "What do we do now?" Sarah asked, her teeth chattering despite the heavy wool coat she wore. Clara looked around desperately. The sun was setting fast, painting the snow-covered landscape in shades of purple and orange. They couldn't survive a night exposed to these elements. Their fingers would freeze, and by morning, they would be nothing but sad memories. "There," Clara pointed toward a distant glow barely visible through the swirling snow. "I see light. There must be a ranch house." The sisters gathered what they could carry, mostly blankets and a small basket of Christmas cookies they had baked for their uncle. Clara took the horse's reins, and together they began the long walk toward the flickering beacon of hope. The journey felt endless. Snow crept into their boots, and the cold bit at their exposed faces with sharp teeth. Sarah stumbled twice, and Clara's arms ached from helping her sister stay upright while also managing the frightened horse. Just when Clara thought they couldn't take another step, a massive structure emerged from the white curtain of falling snow. It was the largest ranch house she had ever seen, 3 stories tall with wide windows glowing warm and golden. A huge barn stood nearby, and she could see dozens of cattle sheltered in covered pens. "This must be the giant ranch," Sarah whispered in awe. "I've heard stories about it in town." Clara had heard the stories too. The giant ranch was legendary throughout the territory, spanning thousands of acres and home to the largest cattle operation in 3 counties. It was owned by a man named Jackson Mercer, though Clara had never seen him. Some said he was a recluse, a man who preferred the company of his animals to that of other people. Others whispered that he had a kind heart hidden beneath a rough exterior. Clara approached the massive wooden door and knocked firmly. The sound seemed to disappear into the wind, so she knocked again, harder this time. The door swung open, and Clara found herself looking up at the tallest man she had ever encountered. Jackson Mercer stood well over 6 feet, with shoulders as broad as a barn door, and hands that looked capable of wrestling a steer to the ground single-handedly. His dark hair was slightly disheveled, and his brown eyes held a mixture of surprise and concern. "What in heaven's name are you ladies doing out in this weather?" His voice was deep but gentle, like distant thunder promising rain for parched fields. "Our wagon broke down," Clara explained, trying to keep her voice steady despite her shivering. We were traveling to our uncle's homestead for Christmas, but we lost our way in the storm. Jackson's expression softened immediately. He stepped aside and gestured them in with a sweep of his arm. "Get inside before you catch your death. I'll see to your horse." The warmth of the house enveloped Clara like an embrace. A massive stone fireplace dominated the main room, filled with crackling logs that cast dancing shadows across polished wooden floors. Christmas decorations adorned every surface. Pine boughs with red ribbons draped the mantel, and a tall evergreen tree stood in the corner, decorated with handmade ornaments and strings of popcorn. "It's beautiful," Sarah breathed, her frozen cheeks beginning to regain their color. An elderly woman appeared from a side door, her silver hair pulled back in a neat bun, and her apron dusted with flour. "Oh my stars. Jackson, you didn't tell me we had guests." "Just found them on our doorstep, Martha," Jackson called back as he headed out to tend to the horse. "They need warming up." Martha, who Clara soon learned was the ranch's longtime housekeeper, immediately took charge. She wrapped both sisters in warm quilts and settled them near the fire with cups of hot cider that tasted of cinnamon and apple. "You poor dears," Martha clucked sympathetically. "Christmas Eve and stranded in a blizzard. But don't you worry none. The good Lord led you right where you needed to be." Jackson returned a short while later, snow melting in his dark hair. "Your horse is settled in the barn with fresh hay and water. She'll be warm and comfortable tonight." "Thank you, Mr. Mercer," Clara said, finally feeling sensation returning to her fingers and toes. "We're so grateful for your hospitality. We'll leave first thing in the morning." Jackson shook his head firmly. "You won't be going anywhere tomorrow, I'm afraid. This storm is set to last through Christmas Day at least, but you're welcome to stay as long as you need." The thought of spending Christmas with a stranger should have worried Clara, but something about Jackson Mercer made her feel safe. Perhaps it was the gentle way he spoke, or the obvious care he showed for his housekeeper, or the way his eyes crinkled at the corners when he smiled. "We don't want to impose on your Christmas," Sarah said politely. Martha laughed warmly. "Impose? Child, it's just the two of us rattling around this big house. Having guests for Christmas is a blessing, not a burden." Jackson nodded in agreement. "Martha's been cooking enough food for an army. She'll be thrilled to have someone besides me to appreciate it." Over the next few hours, Clara learned more about her unexpected host. Jackson had inherited the giant ranch from his father 5 years earlier, and had worked tirelessly to build it into the most successful operation in the territory. But success had come at a cost. He had little time for social calls or town events, and many people misunderstood his absence as unfriendliness. "I'm not much good at fancy talk or dancing," Jackson admitted as they sat down to a simple supper of beef stew and fresh bread. "I know folks in town think I'm peculiar, keeping to myself out here. I think they just don't know you," Clara said quietly. "You've shown us nothing but kindness tonight." Their eyes met across the table, and Clara felt something shift in her chest, like a door opening to let in warm light. Jackson held her gaze for a long moment before looking away, a slight flush coloring his weathered cheeks. After supper, Martha produced a worn Bible and read the Christmas story aloud while the fire crackled cheerfully. Clara found herself watching Jackson as he listened, his expression peaceful and reverent. Here was a man of simple faith and honest work, the kind of man her father had always told her to seek. When the clock struck midnight, marking the arrival of Christmas Day, Jackson rose and walked to the window. The storm had not lessened, but inside the ranch house, all was warm and peaceful. "I have something," Clara said suddenly, remembering the basket she had carried through the snow. "Christmas cookies. We made them for our uncle, but please, share them with us." She retrieved the basket, relieved to find the cookies mostly intact despite their journey. Jackson's face lit up when he bit into one of the ginger spice treats. "I haven't had homemade cookies since my mother passed," he said softly. "She used to make them every Christmas." Sarah had fallen asleep in the rocking chair by the fire, exhausted from their ordeal. Martha had retired to her room, leaving Clara and Jackson alone in the warm glow of Christmas tree. "Tell me about yourself, Miss Bennett," Jackson said, settling into the chair across from her. "What brings you to this territory?" Clara explained how she and Sarah had come west after their parents died of fever 2 years earlier. They had been working at the boarding house in town, saving money and hoping to eventually buy a small piece of land of their own. "It's not much of a dream," she admitted. "Just a little house with a garden, maybe some chickens." "Dreams don't have to be grand to be worthy," Jackson replied. "The best dreams are the honest ones." They talked for hours as the night deepened around them. Clara told him about her love of books and her secret wish to become a teacher. Jackson shared stories of the ranch, of difficult winters survived, and the joy of watching new calves born in spring. As the first gray light of Christmas morning crept through the windows, Jackson stood and extended his hand to Clara. "Come with me. There's something I want to show you." He led her to a small room off the main hall, where he lit a lamp to reveal shelves lined with books from floor to ceiling. Clara gasped in delighted surprise. "My mother's collection," Jackson explained. "She was a teacher before she married my father. I've kept every book, but I confess I don't read as often as I should. I thought perhaps you might enjoy seeing them." Clara ran her fingers along the leather spines, reading titles she had only dreamed of owning. Shakespeare, Dickens, collections of poetry and history. It was a treasure beyond measure. "They need someone to appreciate them," Jackson said quietly, watching her face. "Someone who understands their value." When Clara turned to thank him, she found him standing very close. The lamplight cast warm shadows across his strong features, and his eyes held an expression that made her heart race. "Miss Bennett." "Clara," he said, his voice low and earnest. "I know we've only just met, and I know I'm not a man of fine words or fancy ways, but I feel as though this storm brought you here for a reason." Clara waited, barely breathing. "When the weather clears, would you permit me to call on you in town? I would like very much to know you better." Joy bloomed in Clara's chest like flowers after spring rain. She thought of all the years ahead, of books shared by firelight and honest work and simple dreams. She thought of this man with his kind eyes and gentle heart, and she knew that this Christmas had brought her a gift more precious than any she could have imagined. "I would like that very much, Mr. Mercer," she said softly. "Jackson," he smiled then, a genuine smile that transformed his whole face, and Clara knew that whatever happened when the storm passed, something wonderful had begun. Christmas morning dawned bright and cold, the storm finally breaking to reveal a world transformed by snow into a glittering wonderland. Martha prepared a feast of roasted goose and potatoes, fresh bread and preserved fruits from the cellar. Sarah recovered from her exhaustion and proved to be a lively dinner companion, charming Jackson with stories of their adventures in the territory. But it was Clara who captured Jackson's attention, and everyone in the room could see it. The way his eyes followed her, the way he listened intently when she spoke, the way he found small excuses to stand near her. By Christmas evening, when the roads had cleared enough for safe travel, Jackson personally escorted both sisters back to town in his finest wagon. He made sure their uncle received word that they were safe, and he promised to return the following week for a proper social call. As Clara stepped down from the wagon at the boarding house, Jackson caught her hand gently in his. "Thank why. Oh, for the best Christmas I've had in years," he said. Clara squeezed his hand in return, feeling the strength and warmth of his grip. "Thank you for rescuing us, and for the books." He had insisted she borrow several volumes from his mother's collection, and they rested safely in her bag, treasures to be savored in the weeks ahead. "Until next week, Clara Bennett," Jackson said, tipping his hat. "Until next week, Jackson Mercer." She watched his wagon disappear down the snowy street, and Sarah appeared at her elbow with a knowing smile. "I think this Christmas changed everything," Sarah said. Clara nodded, hugging the books close to her heart. Outside, the first stars of evening were appearing in the cold, clear sky, and somewhere in the distance, church bells began to ring, celebrating the end of Christmas Day. But for Clara, it felt like a beginning, the most beautiful beginning of all.